Now, if you are feeling, I am capable of more, I am deserving of more, why does success still feel so far away? Then this video is for you. Hi all, I am Neelu Agarwal. I'm a former executive at a global investment bank and I'm a former central banker and regulator. And my channel is all about helping you think, feel and act like the top 1%. Now, in the 16 years of career that I had across credit rating analysis, policy making, regulation, inclusion, there were multiple points in my career where I felt stuck. I felt like I deserved better. I felt like the organization owed it to me, that they should do something for me. I've worked really hard. I've got great performance ratings. I'm told that I'm excellent at my job. But why aren't things moving forward? And here are the 2 lessons that I have learned. Number 1, do not take an organization's context as your personal failure. A lot of times a company is making decisions around a particular role based on the budget, based on how critical the role is to the organization's priorities, based on what are the other emerging priorities that the company is coming up with, where more budget is needed. A lot of that influence also rests with who the leader in your area is, who your manager is, and these are not the things that are in your control. To some degree they are, that you can push for it, you can ask for resources, you can ask for a role reevaluation, you can ask for more opportunities, but to a very large degree, the decision makers are operating with a certain context in mind, with a certain bigger picture in mind, with a certain understanding that it's not just you, it's many others in the picture who need to be taken along in the journey. And that context shouldn't be your personal failure. So the first thing that I want you to know is that you haven't failed and there is nothing wrong with you, because this has been a lesson learned that I had. I think I marinated in self-doubt for the longest time. I had a very critical inner chatter with myself. I was taking everything personally in my career at that point, and hence that's been a number 1 lesson learned for me, that don't make an organization's context about your personal failure, because you can only control what you can control. And to waste your time and to marinate and to speak to yourself badly and to not forgive yourself for a mistake that you haven't even made in the first place makes no sense. It only drains you, it only takes away from your time, energy, contribution and all the other things that you could potentially do with yourself to find a new focus, to find a new purpose, to find a new path forward. Number 2, as I mentioned in one of my videos on rejections, and I'll put the link in the description box below, a lot of times when you think that you're capable of more and you don't get those opportunities, a lot of it has also got to do with the fact that maybe you are not aiming big enough, maybe the divine knows that you won't be happy with that opportunity, maybe that opportunity isn't a good fit for you, maybe you wouldn't enjoy working with the stakeholders, and when you think that you are stuck and you want to get out of that place or you want to move forward, what comes to your mind is the title, what comes to your mind is the branding of the division or the leader that you want to work for and with, what comes to your mind is the money that comes with the opportunity. But if I had to draw an analogy, it's very similar to one's focus only being on the wedding party, because the marriage is a completely different ball game altogether. The marriage is, what's your chemistry going to be like with your spouse, what's your chemistry going to be like with your stakeholders, with your team members, with your manager, will you get along or no? And a lot of times, just because we are so mesmerized and fascinated by the wedding day, we assume that the marriage is going to be great, but that's not necessarily the case. Don't be so obsessed with the wedding day, with that interview, with that selection, with that title, with that money, which will all be pointless if you feel disempowered despite the upgrade, if you feel undervalued, if you feel unsafe to give your opinion in a meeting. It will in fact be the most frustrating thing to go and wait for something that you've wanted for so long, only to realize that that wasn't the point, only to realize that that wasn't something that was giving you happiness, fulfillment, or giving you the joy, the sense of success that you were after. But now, more importantly, I want to share with you a couple of lessons learned that I've had in this journey. If I was to speak to my 20, 25, 27-year-old again, there are about 3 to 4 things that I would say to my 25-year-old to do things differently. Number 1, don't think that anybody owes you anything. Your career is your responsibility. Your career, your vision, your goals, you wanting new opportunities is your responsibility. I remember when I was in college, I was a gold medalist in my university, and I felt a sense of entitlement that I should be getting through the top B school. I should be getting a really good job with a really good placement through my college just because I am a gold medalist. And of course, there should be a sense of expectation and self-trust that should come with the fact that I am a gold medalist. So, there is definitely something for which I should get something good enough in the future. But a lot of it was not coming from a place of self-belief and self-trust. It was coming from a place of someone owes it to me to make things happen for me because I have worked really hard. Don't lose sight of the big picture that there are many others in the round. There might be a lot of other skills which others are really good at, which you haven't honed enough. And also that your career is your responsibility and every space is competition and you cannot go with a sense of entitlement. I wish I had put myself on less pressure. I think there was a lot of pressure that I carried in my college years that it has to be number one, it has to be the best. I made everything about my pride, not focusing on my growth, not focusing on my skills, not focusing on my interpersonal skills, not focusing on the infinite game that I was a part of. Everything was driven towards my action as if it was a sprint and not a marathon. It was all about, let's get the 90% marks, let's just get admission in that college, let's just take any stream that's available. Almost running on autopilot only on those short-term goals, not thinking about what was the big picture that I wanted in life. And maybe sometimes you don't have sight of it, but sometimes those patterns also carried forward at work where it was all about finding the next new opportunity. When you're new, when you're driven, when you enter the job market, everything feels like a candy shop. You want to learn, you want to explore new things. And I didn't value the value of going deeper. There's a very interesting saying that if you haven't gone 2 steps forward, it means that you haven't gone 2 steps deeper. And that was a pattern that I kept repeating, because it was all about trying to find the next thing. So I wish I had done a little more deeper work in certain areas to strengthen it and to build and hone in on it as a craft, which I eventually got over because when I got into inclusion, I felt like this feels like home. This feels exactly the space that I want to be in. This feels exactly the space where I want to grow into. And maybe because I hadn't found it at that point, I kept going and I kept exploring and I kept jumping around. But sometimes you get more confidence and people are also able to take a leap of faith on you more when you've shown depth alongside the breadth. So if that's been your pattern, that's something I would encourage you to look at and reconsider. Number 2, don't be shy. I remember wasting so much time thinking, rethinking, should I approach them? Should I not approach them? What if I apply for this job? What will people think? What will my manager think? You have got to take care of your career. You cannot be shy. And it used to kill me to think every time that I would wonder that I shouldn't have applied for this job. I've only done a certain number of months in this role, and I would actually see somebody else getting a job when they're coming from a role where they haven't spent enough time on. So don't opt out and don't come in your own way because of the beliefs that you have about how the process works or what might people think. It's good to think of these things. Like, I'm not expecting you to apply for a job when you've done 2 months or 3 months into a role, but you've spent a good 15 to 18 months. Don't hold yourself hostage to what people will think. It's your career, it's your life, it's your happiness, it's your goals, it's your vision, and you are allowed to pursue things which stir your soul, which makes your heart sing. There are 2-3 regrets that I have. I wish I had gone for certain roles where recruiters had really encouraged me, but because I was so concerned about what my manager would think, if I was leaving my team members in a lurch, I opted out of those opportunities. And maybe staying in certain roles has helped me as well. But the lesson learned was that make your decisions on the right parameters, with the right logic, and not with the fear of judgment over your dreams. Number 3, the distance between where you are and where you want to be is often language. It's your body language and your verbal language. And I hadn't appreciated the power of your energy, your presence, how you show up, how you condition the minds of others to believe that you're ready for the next role, you're ready for the next level, you're ready for the next big opportunity, is to define whether you get that next opportunity or not. The first 12 years of my career, I don't think that I stressed so much on how I was carrying myself, what my dressing was like, whether I was preparing myself to level up to the next level that I wanted to be at. And it was only 3 years ago where my mother actually scolded me. I was going for an external meeting. I was in India meeting a counterpart on inclusion, and I was just normally dressed, and she said, "You're not representing the organization that you are coming from, the role that you represent, and you really need to work on it." And I remember taking it very personally, very harshly, and I went to the shop, got a couple of long form dresses. I love long dresses. I hate trousers. Got 2 blazers, a white one and a black one, and just built my personal brand into wearing those long dresses and a blazer at work. It didn't start with the intention of reconditioning somebody else's mind. It came from me feeling like I was dressing the part, looking the part, asking myself that if I was to get promoted, is this how I would carry myself? Yes. Interestingly, in a couple of months, I saw people started observing. I started getting a lot of compliments on where I was getting my stuff from, on the fact that I was showing up really well, on the fact that, you look really good in these dresses and you're carrying yourself so well. The more important feature of it was not the compliments. The compliments don't matter, but what matters is how do you feel about yourself in the process. A part of my role was to share the forum with some senior leaders, to be a subject matter expert on my topic of inclusion. And I remember when I worked on my energy, on my presence, on how I was showing up, I felt like an equal when I was contributing in meetings. I wasn't coming from a place of feeling less than or feeling like I needed their permission to give an opinion. I felt I was ready. I felt like an equal who had the space and who was allowed to have the space to give her opinion with as much confidence as them. And that's a very important point. When you want to move up the ladder, when you want to feel closer to success, you have to rehearse the future that you want in the present. You have to live it as if you already have it. Because when you start doing that, not once, not twice, but consistently and again, it kind of reconditions everybody's mind to believe that you are there, or you're getting there, or you're not that far away, or that you need to be on their radar. So I would highly recommend to allow yourself to bring your best self to work for sure, but bring your best self to work with skill. Bring your best self to work rehearsing the future that you want. Bring your best self to work in a way that it allows people to see you as an equal in terms of where you want to be. And ask yourself if dressing up this way is giving me the confidence that I'm ready for the next level. Because success is 80% psychology. If you are not feeling the part, the other person will always sense it. But if you do things which make you feel like you're not that far away, that energy also goes. That energy also reaches people, and that also makes an impact in how you are perceived, how people respect you, how people look at you, and the kind of opportunities that come your way. The other aspect to it is sometimes I felt stuck and got into a victim mindset. I would like to call it a victim mindset because sometimes you just feel like, oh, I'm not getting exposure to senior leaders, I'm not getting access to those career accelerator roles. So that's the be all and end all. And there is no other way. I can find a source of inspiration. I can find a source to understand what is that language, what are those tools, tricks, words, and mindset that I can bring to the table to position myself as an executive ready or a C-suite ready or the next level ready leader. Here is what I learned. Be resourceful and go with whatever you have in your hands. Example, you've got a Spotify, you've got a YouTube app on your phone, everything is there for free. Start listening to HBR podcasts, start listening to people like Simon Sinek, Alex Hormozi, Leila Hormozi, Jay Shetty, Lisa Nichols, Eddie Pinero, Brendan Burchard, Tony Robbins. Start listening to people who have got into a 6-figure, 7-figure, 8-figure, 9-figure billionaire mindset. They are people who know how to lead, who know how to get things done, who know how to negotiate, who know how to influence, who know how to lead a team, who know how to think like a leader, who know what it took for them to get there. And the more you listen to those stories, the more you listen to that language that they use in the podcast, in the interview, you will automatically condition your mind. Similar to wearing a dress where you're conditioning your body and your energy to feel like an equal. When you surround yourself the next level that you want to be in, you're conditioning your mind to build readiness for the opportunity that it's going to get, to perform at that level when the opportunity actually arrives. And this was honestly a game changer in my journey, and I wish I had done more of this early on when I was in my 20s. I wish I had been conscious of upgrading my environment, of knowing that I am who I surround myself with, of knowing that if I design my environment designs me. To know that no matter where I am, I can make something of whatever I have in hand. And I shouldn't be waiting, hoping, wishing, wanting for somebody to give me that opportunity, for that opportunity to walk to me, or to dwell and marinate on what I cannot get for whatever reason, but just make the most of whatever is in hand, because that could be equally or even more resourceful. Sometimes you may think that they don't look at me as a leader, and I don't think there is any point for me to prove myself. You accept that you don't deserve any better because of the perceptions people hold about you, against you, and you just give in to that perception gap between how they should look at you versus what your reality is, or what your inner reality is. And I remember being in that zone for a very long time. I used to always think that, oh, this person has seen me in that forum where I didn't do that well, and they are probably the interviewer on the other side, and I'm sure they're not going to give me a chance. Allow people the option to say no. There were so many opportunities that I didn't even go for, imagining barriers, imagining perceptions, imagining what could go wrong. Don't imagine no's. Let the no arrive if it has to arrive. But if you imagine the no and you don't put yourself forward for things, you're not helping yourself in any way. And remember that perceptions can be changed based on how you position yourself, based on how you show up, how you talk, what are the micro behaviors you exhibit. I know that I had a very different perception of my son when he was 2 or 3. There were certain things that he would do really well and would not do. And now he's 6, and those are not the traits that I see in him anymore. And your micro behaviors and the compounding effect of it defines the perceptions that people have about you and feel about you. And sometimes some people will be stuck with an old version of yours which you have superseded and passed long time ago, and it's not your job to marinate over it, to feel sad about it, to opt out of opportunities because of it, or to de-sponsor yourself because of it. Sometimes it's hard to chase success or to chase that goal with an old version of yours. You have to thank that old version of yours which got you this far, and sometimes you've got to have a conversation with it that I'm sorry, I think this is where I need to leave you because I need to mold into somebody new to get the new thing that I want. And it's okay to do that, and it's okay to take a leap of faith that your new version will be accepted and it will be able to reposition you and rebrand you differently. So don't hold back because of the perceptions that people hold about you. Things can change. Your micro behaviors will always leave a trace, and the compounding effect of those micro behaviors and values that you bring to the table will surely help you in getting closer to where you want to get. So these were the 5 to 7 things actually that I wanted to talk to you about. I hope this heart to heart, and I hope this download of I wish I had done this better helps you in your journey, helps you in whatever you are navigating in your life. If you like this video, please like, share and subscribe to my channel because I'm rooting for you. I'm forever in your corner and I really want you to win.